a two-step process. So we have a thermophilic compost first, and then we recomposting, and then we bring the compost over and fill it on top of this facility. So we come with there's a small forklift that we have. Maybe you have seen driving there, and we can go through this pathway. And we have a feeding shovel. The feeding shovel, it's like a bucket. It's filled with compost. But there, if you lift it up, then there is a hole, and below this hole is a conveyor belt. So you drive by, and when you drive here, you spray the compost on top of this facility.
Okay.
So we feed compost, a compost mix, to the earthworms which live in here, and we harvest the finished product at the bottom. So here is a grate, and material can fall down on the concrete, dry up for a day or two, then we scratch, we collect it in this area, and from here we take it again, and then we sieve it, and we process it, and we bring it back.
How much there is in each cycle? How many days? In each
It's
cycle?
about 12 weeks
Okay.
from top to bottom, the whole process. Yeah. And it's a continuous flow process. So when you harvest material, then when you cut, it's a cutting process. So you cut a layer, and so the whole bed falls down a bit, like 1 or 2 centimeters, and you can add material on top. So it's continuously working. We can check it out.
So what kind of material do you bring to?
I'll show you. So when you look at it, you have to be careful because this is moving part. When you look at it, you can see nothing, no action at all, because the earthworms always try to avoid the light. But as soon as you go in, you can see the earthworms.
Yes, so many. Oh my God.
What is the content of the wet?
And the moisture content?
Most, yeah. About
I would say 70 to 80%.
70%.
Yeah, something like that.
What is-
We don't measure
about
it because we have
25 degree of temperature.
25 degrees is ideal. Yeah.
Okay.
And what we do is we have a two-step process. Try to.
You use some special species of worm.
Yeah. We're working with epigeic earthworms, so you can only work with these composting worms. We work with Eisenia foetida and Eisenia andrei. These are the two species that are really.
But two species together, a mix.
It's a mix. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. One species more
We
long.
tried also the larger ones, the Eisenia hortensis or Dendrobena veneta. It's also called Dendrobena veneta,
Okay.
but
Okay.
they don't work very well, and they are not native.
They are not native.
Native, no. The Dendrobena veneta and or Eisenia
So are you
hortensis.
using native ones?
Yeah, these are native ones.
Mhm.
They are very small, but they are very adaptive to the environment.
They don't grow more than that?
Está úmido, não está?
They don't grow
70% umidade.
much bigger, no. No.
Because
Perfect.
in my compost I have very big worms.
They are different.
Species.
They
It's
are they
two different
different?
species. What is most important is that they are epigeic species. So if you think about earthworms in Austria, we have about 65 different species, and you divide them in 3 groups. There are these epigeic earthworms, which typically live in a forest, where the soil is always covered by mulch, by litter. Yeah? So all the leaves, the branches, everything that dies falls on the ground, thanks to Mr. Newton. And then the soil is always covered. And these earthworms, they don't even go in the soil. They stay on the surface of the mineral soil, of the mineral layer, but below the organic layer. Yeah? So they are in between these 2 layers and working there. And they feed heavily on organic material, so therefore they need you can also find them in compost, in manure heaps. That's where they like to be. And then the next group is the aneic earthworms. They form these deep burrows, like those go down 2 meters deep, and then in the night come up and fetch some look for organic material and pull it into the soil. So these are the aneic earthworms. They wouldn't fit in here because they would fall out at the bottom. And even if you throw them in a compost, then they would even die, because they need more the mineral soil and they only feed on the organic material. But they can really stay in the organic material. And then there is the third group, which is the endogeic earthworms, which they don't come out, and they don't have their burrows where they want to stay their whole life in, but they form new burrows all the time and fill up the burrow with shit or with earthworm casting, and just move on and move on and move on. So these are the three groups. And with vermicomposting, you can only work with the surface dweller. And that also gives us the opportunity, because if you provide the environment that's necessary for them, then they stay on top always, and you can harvest at the bottom without harvesting the earthworms. So that's the critical thing, because harvesting earthworms or separating the earthworms from the finished product is the most important thing.
Without taking out the worms.
Yeah.
So you are spraying water here?
Yeah.
On the top?
we have a trailer running on this construction, running on these wooden boards, where there is just a spray bar, like a pesticide sprayer, with some nozzles and a hose, and we just go and water it. All by hand.
You do it every day?
Depending on the weather.
In the bottom there is no worms.
So you have.
In the bottom there's no worms.
So you have 50% of humidity or something?
Yeah, 67.
And what kind of organic material do you put here? Any kind of plant?
Yeah, we have a 2-step process. So we do a thermophilic process first. So we produce compost, and then we mix in some sweeties for the earthworms, because the compost might be too mature.
Okay.
So if you feed compost to the earthworms, they say no, we don't like this, because the microbial activity is already slowing down, and the process is already quite finished, more or less, at least for the earthworms. The earthworms are looking for fresh food, and they would maybe even prefer if we feed like vegetables or grass clippings over here. But the problem is when you feed, like we feed, every time we feed once a week. We feed a layer of 6, 7, 8 centimeter, and if we feed fresh material, they would prefer it. They need a week, because the earthworm cannot take a bite from whatever, a grass clipping, for example. He cannot swallow it, and because he has no teeth, he cannot bite. So he needs other organisms like springtails to open the epidermis and so on, so then the microbes can get in and the material gets softer and softer and breaks down, and then the earthworm comes and we go with it. But if we put in fresh material and next week we put another layer and another layer, then it gets thermophilic. And then it starts heating, and then the worms would die. Or they would move down and stop processing, move to the side, even crawl out. And then they would wait till the temperature goes down again, and then they start.
But even if you spray, even if you are spraying with
Yeah,
worms,
yeah.
it's not.
If the process starts, it's very
That's why
difficult.
you do the first phase.
Yeah, yeah. So with thermophilic process helps us in several ways. On one side, it's a eugenization process, so it kills weed seeds, because with the finished product is not allowed to have weed seed in it. Yeah. It kills weed seed, it kills plant pathogens, it kills human pathogens, and it's already a product. It's also important according to the Austrian law for composting. So you start with waste, and then you go through composting. It's a product again, which is very important from the legislative point of view. And because you cannot sell waste. If you sell waste, then you say, okay, this is a little bit of uranium waste. I can sell it to you. No, you have to separate it. And so then we soften the material through the thermophilic composting. We open it up, we homogenize it because we mix it. And so we have a homogenized material, and sometimes it's ready and the earthworms love it when it's still fresh. And we can do that in spring, in autumn, in winter. We can even put up hot compost because it helps us to keep the temperature high. But in summer we have to be super careful and not to put hot material in, because then we also have like 35, 38 degrees sometimes. And then but in summer we go with very mature thermophilic compost, but this is not interesting for the worms. So we have to add sweeties, like we add the horse droppings, and we add hammer milled oat or something like that we produce on the farm, or sieving rest from small grains or something like that. So we add that just like a powder, just to start up the microbial activity. And then the earthworms love it. So we do that keep it for 1 week, then it can swarm again a bit. In summer. So we always tune our compost, or we always pimp it up a bit, so then the worms like it.
And in the winter, you don't have problems with cold?
In winter time we heat it. We have a wood chip heating system where we heat the farm building, and we put 40 degrees warm water through these hoses. And first we burrowed these hoses, so we put it on top and we put the next layer of food on it, and the next layer and the next layer, and then we rip it out, put it on top again, but this didn't work. So now we just heat up the air above because we have this isolation folia, we roll it down, and we temperate because the whole system needs 5 kilowatt of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And because you can calculate if you go in with 40 degrees and go out with 30 degrees, and you know how much meter and the diameter, and then you can look up in the form and okay, this is
Do
in
you
a chart.
have solar panels to produce energy? Or?
Yeah, that would be ideal, but we don't have a lot of sun in winter because it's a kind of a little bit of value, this Danube value with the river, and there is always a fog or cloudy, so we have very little light in winter time. That's the problem. The reason why we go for why because when we already have compost, why should we go for vermicompost? And the reason is, with vermicompost you have a range of characteristics, or a range of agents. Yeah? So you have the nutrients. So vermicompost is a fertilizer. In Austria it's declared as a fertilizer because it has more than 1% of nutrients. So more than 1% of nitrogen, 2% of potassium, for example, and
So
so on.
they increase the nutrients of the material.
Yeah.
But it's considered a fertilizer,
It's
not
considered
an
a
organic,
fertilizer.
but an organic fertilizer.
It's an
right?
organic fertilizer.
But
yeah.
it's different from manure. It's considered
Yeah,
differently from
yeah,
manure.
Yeah. From legislative perspective, yes. It's in Austria. It's a fertilizer,
So it's
but we don't say the most important characteristic is not the nutrient, because the nutrient level is really low. So you have the nutrients, you have a diverse range of nutrients, so you do not only have NPK, but you really have all the trace elements and everything, because it's produced from plant residues, so everything is there. But the most important characteristic is the microbes, and there it's the biodiversity of the microbes. And then there you will find like humic substances, chemical substances, where we still don't know, okay, what do they do, how they help support plants and so on. And then you have phytohormones like auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin. And the fun thing, that's also to show how important biodiversity is, because if you have an earthworm, you can do vermicomposting like in a 5-liter pot, no problem. But if you only have an earthworm, you can't do it, because the earthworm also needs an environment. It needs help from springtails. Okay. Yeah, passt, danke. Ich rufe my father. 80 years, still hardworking. Till he has a problem, then he stops. But so the earthworms cannot survive alone. So they need the environment, they need the microbes, they need all the whole ecosystem. Otherwise they can't do anything. Yeah? If you have an earthworm and you throw him a salad leaf in, he will just die, because he cannot bite on it. He relies on the whole system to make the food available. And the same is true like for the phytohormones, because the phytohormones, they are not produced by the earthworm itself, but they are produced by Pseudomonas bacteria, which rely on the slime, on the mucus of the earthworm, because the earthworm it doesn't have a lung to breathe. He gets the oxygen from the surface. So the surface has always to be like moist, and this slime is the habitat where the Pseudomonas bacteria thrive, and the Pseudomonas bacteria produce the phytohormones. So we always say earthworms are good for the soil and for the plants, but it's not, in this case, it's not the earthworm itself, but it's the earthworm is providing an environment to a microorganism which produces something that supports the plant in root growth, germination, and so on. Yeah. So you see how everything is connected.
It's a complex ecosystem.
Exactly.
Interaction.
Yeah. And the fun thing is that the vermicomposting process is like 100 million years old or so. Yeah. And now you can say, okay, how good is the product? How good is the final product, the vermicompost? Is it like, you can rate it 10, is it 10, is it 8, is it 5? It doesn't matter. It's completely useless to talk about this, because what counts is that the plants that we have, they are used to this process. They know this process, and the plants which could use the product or this ecosystem could get the best use of it. These are the species that survive in harsh conditions. Yeah, if you only can say, okay, I can only take the nutrients but I cannot use benefit from the microbes. I cannot benefit from the phytohormones. I cannot benefit from the humic substances. Then you will not be as fit in harsh conditions, and you might die off. Yeah? But and so therefore, it's always this is a product. It's not something that we developed, or where we say, okay, we found something new. We developed a new fertilizer with a new nitrogen composition and whatever. No, it's just this is nature, but it's proven 100 million years. Okay. Yeah? So it's a system that works. We wouldn't.
So you don't have a patent, but you have
No,
a very good idea that survived for more than
Yeah. We just we are
years.
mitigating nature, nothing else. Yeah? And we cannot make it better. So not in my generation. So I don't have the capacity to say, okay, I am doing research. I hire 50 scientists, and then we try to make this better. Maybe we can do it better at a certain time, but I don't care because I don't have the capacity to do it better. So I rely on nature and say, okay, that's already, for me it's perfect, yeah, but maybe like in 100 years with artificial intelligence, whatever, yeah, I don't care. I think this is already good, and the only thing that we can do is we can provide the environment. So we make sure there is enough water, we make sure there is enough food, we make sure that the temperature is okay. And what we could do probably is to say, okay, we feed a certain diet here and we feed a certain diet here. And then we try, okay, to figure out for these crops, this might be better, for these crops, this might be better. Maybe if we add like rock powder, if we add biochar, if we add this and that. I can think, okay, we can try to, but we don't make the process better. We just change the environment. Yeah? We just change a bit. Okay, if we do it like a little bit warmer, I don't know, yeah, moist, more moist, whatever. This could be something where we could still increase, yeah, improve, yeah. But the process itself, it's, in my opinion, it's perfect. Yeah? It's proven by
You
nature.
just
So
accelerate a natural process here and
Yeah.
just
do it faster.
not faster, but on a more controlled and
and
concentrated way.
accelerated way.
So how many tons per week or kilos per week of the compost do you
We
bring in
produce
and out?
about 500 cubic meter a year.
A year, 500
Okay.
cubic meter.
1.5.
The white ones, these are springtails, Colembola.
Yeah.
Golem block,
Yeah. And that's really the important thing is if you look at it for a little bit longer, you realize, okay, first you think, okay, there's no, only the earthworms are moving, but then you see, okay, there is a mite, there is a springtail, there is this, there is that, yeah. But even more important is what you cannot see. All the bacterial species and all the fungal species and the
That's
archaea.
what I want to ask. The role of fungi in this system. In one way, if you have any problem with fungi diseases, infection for the livability of worms.
No, there is no disease at all. No disease that I would realize.
Oh, okay. And on the other hand, the possibility of enhancing this positive effect on the plants, the crops afterwards, with fungi species that can mycorrhize the roots of the plants where these are going to.
Yeah. We don't have them in there, mycorrhizal fungi, because the mycorrhizal fungi needs a growing root, a living root, and we
Yes,
don't have
of course.
a living root in here.
Not here.
But there are some studies which say that there is a positive effect between vermicompost or earthworms and mycorrhizal fungi.
Yes, this question is because, as you said, microbes organic matter, minerals, and fungi are used to live together for millions of years. So when these go to the root system, plant root system, perhaps some, I don't know, spreading some fungi mycorrhized
makes
with
sense.
mycorrhizing capacity would be enhancing the plant production.
That could be
And you
possible.
have to have the mycorrhizas.
Yes, but that is easy to get on the nature. Not so easy to.
Not for
To
a
put-
farmer. You have to
No,
think on a
yes.
farmer. The farmer will not go and collect mycorrhiza in the field so easily.
Not the farmer, but
Companies.
yes, we can do it in the future. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it could be really helpful. What we have is these PGPRs, these plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. That's inside. So what we try to do, and this is also the difference between composting and vermicomposting, because with composting you have these high temperatures, which is good on one side to get rid of the weed seed, to get rid of the pathogens, but then you also kill a lot of good
Everything,
guys.
yeah.
Because in the soil there are not a lot of microorganisms which can withstand like 65 degrees, because they are not used to it. And then therefore we go with the compost, which has certain characteristics. We go in here and we bring back biodiversity with this system, and that's really the important thing that we think is, and biodiversity is at the end for me it's the number one reason why this planet is so beautiful. It's biodiversity, why nature is so successful on this planet. And we still don't know, and we always try to get the best. We select for the best, and okay, now we have Bacillus subtilis or Trichoderma hazianum 264 or whatever, and we go for the best because we think, okay, this is because then we have the highest productivity. But then it's maybe only productivity, and then, but if you go for biodiversity, then it's much more stable, it's much more resilient, and this is really what we should do.
Ver com a lupa.
And the scientists don't know what all the bacteria do, all the different species, and I don't know, but I don't care, because I don't have to use them. So I provide it to the plants. I say, okay, do something with it. Use it whenever you want. You are under control. You feed the microbes, and we don't know, because now we are working with a lot of sensors. We want to sensor everything, from satellite and dig sensors in and whatever. But at the end, we cannot never ever measure, like, with the amount of light that's available right now in this second, the amount of light, the temperature, the carbon dioxide concentration, the moisture content in the soil, and then the plant stacks in a compaction with one root, and in the other it has moisture and microbes and nutrients. So we cannot sensor this all to find out what the plant needs. Only the plant itself knows what it can do right now, how much photosynthesis it can do right now. And therefore we try to say, okay, here you have the stuff, and
provide a nice home.
We provide the toolbox, really.
This compost is here since how many days?
This was fed on, I would say, Monday or Tuesday.
So 4 days, 5 days.
And
And the straws became decomposed, or is something that you are having?
No, it's part of the mix. And you can also see that there is a lot. So like here, you see there is a lot of material is not eaten.
Yeah.
But if you go down,
it is
already consumed. So the process really takes place at the near the surface, but not at the surface. So here this is not processed, but it will be processed when you put the next layer on.
Yeah. And then where do you collect the organic materials from farms in the surrounding?
No, we have our lucerne that we have in our crop rotation. This is what we harvest. Then we have some horse manure from the 5 horses that we have. It's very little, and we have, but the horse manure is not pre-composted.
Okay.
It's just put in at the end.
With the lucerne?
Fresh, fresh.
In the composting pile. Not
So
here.
the composting resources, the thermophilic composting resources is lucerne, green waste from the village, and wood debris from the village, like branches.
And there's an organization that collects these materials, or is
it's from the municipality.
And you buy it, or you get it?
We get it for free. And it's already
They
chipped
get
up.
rid of it.
Yeah, they get rid of it. They pay for the processing, sieving, and cleaning,
And then
and
they
we
give
get
it
it
to-
more or less for free.
Because the municipal services are public, they are not a private company.
The collection place is public, but then the work is outsourced to contractors, which chop it up and transport it and so on.
So, but there's a cost on that. So if you have a competitor here, that would be a problem for you.
No, because the competitor would even charge them for.
They would
taking
charge
over.
the competitor.
No, the competitor would charge the municipality for composting, and we don't make the money with waste fees.
Okay.
We make the money with products sales, and they make most money with waste fees, but then they get also the separate collection from the household.
Now, I was asking if
There's
there
a
is
lot of
another
plastic.
vermicomposter. Imagine that there was someone that wants to use the waste for something else.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will have a competitor.
Yeah.
And then it would be possible to have 2 or 3 in the region, or do you think that would be
Now vermicomposting is quite a niche, and the end product is very expensive because it takes a lot of time, and you can imagine how much vermicompost is produced by a worm per day, and so you need a lot of worms. And we make our money with selling peat-free soil substrates mainly, where we add the vermicompost like 3, 5, 7%. We sell vermicompost on one side. We sell soil amendments with a mix of biochar and vermicompost. We make most money with selling potting soil in bags through a food retailer chain in Austria. So you find the soil like it's in this pallet.
Yeah.
You can find it on
It's
any
mainly-
villa.
But it's mainly for domestic gardens, or
Yeah, we focused heavily on private consumer, on the consumer market, because it's an expensive product, and we always say, okay, I was always angry with myself because I said, I cannot use it because it's too expensive. I cannot say, okay, let's use 10 tons of vermicompost and grow corn. Doesn't pay off. Yeah?
In the garden.
And
Small garden.
and so in small gardens, raised beds and so on, it doesn't matter if it's more expensive. But for producers, it was too expensive. But then we developed a system where we now use it for seed coating. And so we make compost extracts, compost teas, where we wash out the microbes and then put it on the seed. So we cover the seed.
pelletization.
Yeah. And then when the plant, when the seed germinates, it takes some of the microbes from the hull, and then it transports the microbes in the soil and it breeds them. And this is the idea came up with soybean inoculation, because we grow soybean, and once we didn't have enough inoculation material, so for the last 3 rows I said, okay, take a bag without inoculation. just to finish the field. But then the 3 rows, they were like this, and the others like this. And then you see the difference. But the process of inoculation is only, it's like per hectare, it's like 400 milliliter per hectare. You put it on the seed to make the seed,
It's enough.
and that's enough. And then I thought, okay, if I can do one species seed coating just with my concrete mixer, why not take the whole diversity that I have and use it for all the other stuff, for all grain, for everything. Then I can inoculate the seed, therefore then I can inoculate the microbes. I can bring the microbes back on the field. And it's really because you can also spray it, for example, on a leaf surface. You can go with make a compost tea and then you spray it over your wheat field or whatever. And there might be some benefits, but most microbes will die because of the sunlight, because they don't find any environment that thrives them. Then you can say, okay, let's peel it, or let's do it in the soil. So you open a trench, you water that in, and you close it. That's much better. But the best one is to bring it where the transport and the support is, and that's at the root base, the seed. So if it grows, the root acts as a transport system. So it brings the microbes, transports the microbes down into the subsoil, and it acts as a breeding station, because it's with the root exudates, and then the plant knows already, okay, I have a lack of phosphorus, I have to feed this guy, this guy, this guy, and then they multiply, and then they mineralize the phosphorus. Or I have to feed these guys because there is a fungal disease on my roots evolving, or whatever, even with drought situations. And therefore, because we don't know which microbes support the plants the best, or which microbes the plant does need this year, we just bring in all of them and say, okay, here is your toolbox, use it. And then we can reduce the amount of compost to 1 liter per hectare and still see significant results. That's fun. Because on the other hand, if we think now, let's think about Portugal. You do not have enough compost to cover the whole agriculture area of Portugal. No country has enough compost to.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible. Yeah, we can, even in Austria, if we have a lot of composting plants, and then it's also a question of how good is the quality. Yeah, how much microplastic, how much heavy metals do you, how much, whatever. So one discussion is quantity of compost, and the other discussion is quality of compost. So it's better, in my opinion, it's better to produce a high quality compost and use it very specific than to spread like 20 tons of compost of shit, and then you have a lot of microplastic in the field.
That's true.
Sure, you transport organic matter, you transport carbon, you transport more nutrients, but the most important thing is, in my opinion, is the microbes. And that's and now, so we focused really heavy on the consumer market, but now just yesterday we were talking. We had 2 visitors from nurseries, which grow, like the one grows like sells 2 million plants a year, and they want to change to our potting soil.
That's good.
And so we see more and more demand, and also with farmers, winemakers who want to use the compost tea. So
You started this business how long?
I started it as a side business of the farm 25 years ago, and 12 years ago we sourced it out of the farm, and now we have a limited. We founded a limited together with a partner, and he's doing all the commercial stuff, and I'm doing all the production, product development, research, and so on.
Very well.
Just one more question. When you cut the bottom layer and you add a top layer, the level of the worms, where worms they go down and then they come up with new material.
Yeah,
They stay almost.
they stay. So this can be fed another time already. I don't know if the guy does it today. Hopefully, because that's when it looks so even.
Okay.
So then it's already processed, and you can add another layer. But you
worms
still
are
see the
behind.
worms are still near the surface. If you wouldn't add another layer for a week or 2 weeks, then the worms would go down and say, okay, let's look if there is
And then
left
so then
over.
replace.
So the restaurant is on the top.
The restaurant's always on the top. And
Okay.
That
If
group
you-
of worms that need to be on the top.
yeah,
Yes.
So they are always coming up.
Yes.
and they come up within 24 hours. So
Okay.
if you spread the compost on the surface, then they are disturbed because of this,
Yes.
falling and the noise and so on. But then within 24 hours they are
They come up.
in the
Okay.
fresh material again.
Fresh food.
Fresh food.
Fresh food. Fresh for them.
It's good.
Fresh for them. Do you spray do you put the compost with the tractor that comes here and then?
It's a front end loader. So like a caterpillar.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. This is
Good.
the facilities.
Just this.
This is just this.
For these
500
5,000.
cubic meter a year.
500. I have to put it in Portuguese. 500.
500.
500 cubic meters.
Alfred,
So each cubic
This
meter.
is for example a product that
is the product, you know,
with
product.
biochar. Yeah, this is with biochar,
From biochar.
and the other one is the vermicompost. So this is vermicompost when we sieve it. Yeah.
You can give me a little sample for evaluation the population, microbial population.
Yeah, I could
This one is yours.
Yeah, but I would
This is yours.
rather like to give you a fresh sample from here.
Okay.
You have the most.
But I want,
Jurek,
mas também precisava daqui, fresh eu tenho.
geh mal a 2 mm Sieb.
So much meter.
I will give you some.
Your shot.